Hi, my name is Amber Acord, and I have researched Albert Bandura. He is most known for his social cognitive theory, self-efficacy theory, and his interesting Bobo doll experiment. I'd never heard of Albert Bandura, and I really enjoyed researching him. All right, let's get started. The early life of Albert Bandura. He was born December 4th, 1925, in a very small town called Bandura in Canada. He was about 50 miles from Edmonton. He was the youngest of six children, and two of them died at a very young age. One from a hunting accident and another from the flu pandemic. Bandura's father was originally from Krakow, Poland, and his mother from Ukraine, both of whom immigrated to Canada as adolescents. His father worked for the Trans-Canada Railroad. His parents were both very hardworking and self-educated. They instilled in him a joy for celebrating life and the importance of education. So from a young age, his parents really instilled in him how important his education would be to him. Little did they know what he would do with his life, I'm sure. So he attended a very small school, and it had only two teachers for high school. It stated that he didn't have a whole lot going on in school. There wasn't much for extra education, but he thrived where he was. This quote is from Bandura himself. One morning I was wasting time in the library. Someone had forgotten to return a course catalog, and I thumbed through it, attempting to find a filler course to occupy the early time slot. I noticed a course in psychology that would serve as an excellent filler. It sparked my interest, and I found my career. It's a little bit of higher education background. Bandura graduated in 1949 in 3 short years from the University of British Columbia. So it only took him 3 years to graduate. He graduated with the Bolakin Award in psychology. The next move he made was to the University of Iowa, from where he obtained his master's. And in 1951, that's when he obtained his master's and his PhD in clinical psychology in 1952. I believe the University of Iowa is where he met his wife as well, but we will find out. Oh, here we are. Life at home. Virginia Varnes was married to Mr. Bandura in 1952. She spent her time as a nursing instructor at the University of Iowa. This is where Virginia and Albert met. They had two children together, Mary and Carol. Sadly, in 2011, Virginia passed away, leaving behind their two daughters and Albert himself. His university employment. Mr. Bandura was offered a one-year instructorship at Stanford University in 1953. This quickly turned into a professorship. I guess they seen all the powers he possessed. In 1974, he was named the David Starr Jordan Professor of Social Science in Psychology. And 2 years later, he became chairman of the psychology department. He remained at Stanford, becoming Professor Emeritus in 2010. From 1968 to 1970, he served as a member of the APA Board of Scientific Affairs and was later appointed as the 82nd President of the American Psychological Association in 1974. His work was really that great, and for that time it was all new, and it was really paved the way for a lot of things that we do and we think is just common sense, but he put meaning behind it and showed us what it meant. His claim to fame. Bandura was a big believer in self-efficacy. He believed that we all already possessed everything we need to be our best selves. This was his self-efficacy theory. Some of his works included therapeutic interventions aimed at removing mental and emotional barricades that we allow others to place in the way of our strengths. So he believed that we already had everything inside of us. We just needed to find it. And we we had everything we needed to be our best self. We didn't need to seek things from the outside or possess new things. It was all inside and we could be the best us we can be. His social learning theory. Bandura proposed that learning occurs through observation, imitation, and modeling, and is influenced by factors such as attention, motivation, attitudes, and emotions. That's a really big, broad statement. I'm going to read that one more time. He proposed that learning occurs through observation, imitation, and modeling, and is influenced by factors such as attention, motivation, attitudes, and emotions. This is so true. We learn things in many, many different ways, and our attention, our motivation, our personal attitudes and emotions really play a role in how that learning is processed. Self-efficacy is a person's belief in his or her own ability. He believed that those who truly believed they could overcome their fears or their phobias, we were more likely to actually do so. When we truly believe in ourselves, we can do wonderful things. If you think you can climb Mount Everest, if you really believe you can, you'll be more apt to put in the work to do so. If you think you can read the dictionary, if you really think you can do so. And he was a big believer in that. And I think that's just when you have belief in yourself, you go further as a person. And he would back that up. Here's where things really got interesting for me. The Bobo Dolls experiment. This experiment was to show how children learn aggression by observing adults. So Bandura tested 36 boys and 36 girls from the Stanford University Nursery School. They were from about 3 to 6 years old. The researchers pre-tested the children for how aggressive they were by observing the children. They judged their aggressive behavior on 4 5-point rating scales. It was then possible to match the children in each group so that they had similar levels of aggression in their everyday behavior. So to test their inter-rater reliability of the observers, 51 of the children were rated by 2 observers, and their ratings were compared. So, a lab experiment was used in which the independent variable was manipulated in 3 conditions. All right. He showed, I want to say, about 24 children a video of adults in a Bobo doll. These adults hit the dolls, they punched them, they slapped them, they did many aggressive things and showed them pictures, and it was for an allotment of time. Okay? Then there were 24 that he showed them videos or showed them adults just holding the dolls and not being so aggressive. And then there were 24 that had never seen the dolls before. All right. So then each child was taken to a room with about the same amount of toys and the same type of toys. And he recorded the results. He said the children who observed the aggressive model made far more imitative aggressive responses than those who were in the non-aggressive or control groups. So those that had seen the aggression were more apt to show aggression. And that's what he's saying, is that children learn by modeling. They know when we're aggressive, and they learn that. They seek that. And they learn that way. They truly do. We have to model. That goes back to his other theory. We need to model appropriate behavior because these students are watching us. All right, Mr. Clark Hull is someone that Mr. Bandura was really influenced by. Mr. Hull was a psychologist known for his drive theory and research on human motivation. Albert Bandura was influenced by him in his works, and he began to study and experimenting with imagery, reciprocal determinism, and representation. Mr. Bandura, there wasn't much on his late life. I'm sure he stayed in psychology. He lived a very long life. At the age of 95, which was in 2021, he passed away from heart failure. So why is Mr. Bandura's work so important for us educators? He truly showed us, with the Bobo doll experiment, how important modeling behavior is. Students learn so much just by observing what we as educators model. We may not notice it at first, but throughout time we will notice. And that Bobo experiment was a perfect way to really show us how our modeled behavior affects these children. And that is it. I hope you learned a lot about Mr. Albert Bandura because I sure did.